And it was, my heart is just now calming, just now getting back in regular rhythm. I will not lie, I was scared.
Oh,
wow.
Because it was not moving, and it started getting hot in there too, didn't it?
Yeah, the summer's taking it very seriously to get an increase in our facilities maintenance budget.
I'll vote for it right now.
Lock it in, the council president. I mean,
That's scary. That's scarier than this.
you learn quickly.
Yes. I feel safe in here after, let's get escalators.
Did fire and rescue get you out, or did
Chad called somebody.
You'll be glad to come.
He called me, I had nothing to do with the door open.
What I want to know is how long would it take to have gotten us out of there if we hadn't?
It depends on where you were at, between floors.
Wow.
You know, if you were on the same floor and it just wouldn't open, use the elevator key and it shouldn't take but a couple minutes.
Ooh.
But if you're between floors, it'd be a little trickier.
Oh, Lord. I'm just so thankful. Thank you, Lord. I'm going to be real good today. I promise.
you know the rumor will be out there that I do that, so you'll vote for it. I'll be a next post on some major Facebook page.
Oh, yeah.
That's different drama.
That's funny.
You don't like that kind of drama.
I did not like that kind of drama. No.
It was freaking out over there.
Started to go in the fetal position. Okay. All righty. Is there a motion to approve of the minutes?
So moved. Second.
There's motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Zach, you're up.
All right, so we have 3 items for you. The first one are short-term rental amendments to section 24. So we discussed the short-term rental amendments that we were proposing at admin and policy last month, and there weren't too many concerns, questions, anything like that during that time. One thing that Mr. Busby brought up was adding the primary criteria for noise ordinance provisions shall be adhered to, so we did that. But just the summary of these changes that we're proposing. So we are, one is primary criteria, the noise ordinance provision shall be adhered to. Discretionary, 2 discretionary items, one being the primary or accessory use of the dwelling. They can take that into consideration, as well as how many short-term rentals are located near the requested short-term rental. Another big amendment to this that I think is going to be huge for the Zoning Board of Adjustment as well as staff is they've been, essentially the Zoning Board of Adjustment approves the first year as kind of a probationary period, 30 nights per year when the code does allow 45. And then after that first year, when they come back to renew, they usually just, if no complaints or violations or anything have occurred, they typically approve for 45 nights per year. And so what we're proposing is administrative renewals. So when they come back for that renewal, you know, the first year they get their probationary 30 nights per year, and then they come back for their renewal. We can administratively approve that if there were no verified complaints or violations through 311, TPD, and that stuff. So that will be a huge load off of our Zoning Board of Adjustment and off of our staff.
Why to 45 days?
So 45 nights per year is what we have in the code.
But only if they request it, right?
So that is, so by right in the TOD, the Tourist Overlay District, you can do 45 nights per year by right. And so it's kind of like a standard that's written in there. However, they've been only allowing 30 for the first year, or for the first night, or sorry, the first year, 30 nights per year. So I think it's going to be huge for ZBA. Like, for instance,
So for most of my district, the 45 nights is no change, right?
no change at all for your district. The one additional change, oh, and also just for context, last night ZBA got out at 8:30, from 5 o'clock to 8:30. So most of those were short-term rentals.
It was painful.
Another addition that we're adding is allowing multifamily and condo buildings outside of the TOD by right up to 100 licenses total. So right now in the TOD, 150 licenses per total for condos and multifamily. We're also going to extend that by right, allowing multifamily and condo buildings to come by right, so they don't have to go through ZBA, but up to 100 licenses.
And how many do we have now?
currently throughout the whole city, we have 175.
So you're not allowing any?
No, 175 total. That's single family, that's everything. So 100 licenses by right in multifamily and condo
Multifamily and
buildings
condo.
outside of the
How
TOD.
many do we have now?
I'm not sure how many we have now for multifamily and condo buildings outside the tourist overlay district, but within the whole city, we have 175 licenses.
Isn't how many we have now, would not be relevant to that change? Or are we already over it? Or
No, not at all.
Are we close to it?
We're not close at all to it. So,
Do we don't have any say-so in the police jurisdiction, do we?
they just have to get a business license. And then these are just kind of showing you what all I just mentioned. And that's all I've got on that. Do y'all have any questions?
Zach, if I remember correct, if somebody, the ZBA board, if, let's say somebody in my neighborhood wanted to come up and rent, or a short-term rental, and a big majority of the neighborhood said whatever, that was not criteria that the ZBA board could look at, now they can, right?
Yeah.
We're changing that wording where they could, or it could be used, where in the past, I know, I've watched several of these hearings, and I watched last night, and there was a short-term rental in Brandon Place. And there were 50% of the neighbors who were against it, that signed a petition. I've not seen that before. But ZBA didn't give any weight to that I saw, except Joe Eatman did.
Yes.
I think it bothered Joe Eatman, and I think if I was sitting there, it'd bother me. So when we change this, we are giving latitude for that to matter, where last night it may not have mattered as much. Am I saying that correct?
That's correct, yeah. So if, as you can see up here, 2 discretionary criteria, number 2 and number 3, allows them to take into account whether or not the short-term rental is primary or accessory use. So in the sense of, is it just used for short-term rental and then vacant the rest of the time, or is it someone's house that they're renting out on the weekends and then coming back to throughout the week? And then number 3 there, taking in the characteristics of the neighborhood and the surrounding properties. So these have been, at least number 3 there has been in the code. We're just adding that bold part there of taking into account the nearby short-term rentals as well. So they've had that discretionary ability to take that into account.
Why have they not?
They are a standalone board. We've met with each individual board member to discuss these updates and to answer any questions they may have. They feel like this gives them a little bit more leeway on being able to approve and deny.
Wouldn't have known it last night. That's my problem, and I'm not gonna say anything much today, but I wanna meet with each council person individually. Just so happened Lee and I had a conversation about it, but I've got some ideas that I'm just address with each council person, see how things are in their individual districts. Mine is absolutely being taken over. And it doesn't, I was told last night that they're still saying they can't, there's no reason for them to deny anything. And as long as that's the case, that is just not right. To the neighbors, Gillswood last night, it's not my district, they had every house in there but one. They didn't pay attention to that. Except Joe Eatman. And I spoke with Scott about it too, and Scott said, just let's see if this gives them a little time to work. I understand, I will, but I don't think it's gonna change at all a month from now, 3 months from now. But again, before I say anything else, I would like to pull each one of you guys aside and have a little conversation about your individual districts, tell you what my concerns are, and see if we can't come to some consensus. Hoover just banned it because they were just taking over in the neighborhoods in Hoover. They just recently banned it. I'm not looking for that, but
And I agree with Mr. Holmes that give it some time. Again, these are going to be if you guys vote to adopt these, then they'll be put into place for the next meeting. And so I think that will give them a little bit more leeway and a little bit more comfortable in,
You've got more confidence than I do,
yeah, well,
because I know and I appreciate what you and Ashley did. I really do, but it didn't do any good, and that's not y'all's fault.
Well, the most effective tool for conforming short-term rentals to neighborhood preferences is homeowner associations.
That's right.
There's certain things that collective groups can do privately that as lawmakers, we can't go, you can do it here unless they don't like it. And
I think to your point, you're right, they need to do that, but if you don't already have covenants in place
Correct.
that deal with that, if you wanna change something, it takes 100% of the people there. And I think when a lot of these neighborhoods were put together, you never dreamed this would happen like this.
It's not in our
So it's-
covenants at all.
You know, it's, some of the new neighborhoods I know in District 3 would have covenants, right? But a lot of neighborhoods in this town and all parts of town and District 3 don't have covenants.
You
So, I
know,
mean, there's concern, last night bothered me just because there did not seem to be any weight on half the neighborhood saying that. Now, if that person wants to rent their property, I agreed with some of the stuff they said about it's a higher standard, because you have to live, they're not renting it out 12 months out of the year or whatever, right? But they've got to live with those neighbors. They've got to deal with the consequences of that. And that will be an issue that hopefully the right thing will happen, but there were some people that were really upset about that. It's the first time that's ever happened in that neighborhood.
That's why, so I would say if Cassius rented his home out, and it went south, bad, you gotta come back and live there. And so the neighbors are gonna say, come to you. And what we're doing, what I'm allowing, I've already said too much, but we're allowing in one situation, somebody that has no interest in Tuscaloosa at all, lives in Texas, and is just having a house, and we're allowing him to have a business in a well-established neighborhood, not a wealthy neighborhood, but a well-established, close-knit neighborhood. I just think something's wrong, but I would like to get with each one of you, please, and let's give this a little time, I promised, and then let's talk and let me hear it from each one of you, if you will.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I totally agree with you. Speaking to some of the people in my district, there's one particular really nice house that's a short-term rental that I've heard a lot of dialogue about, and that I really want to talk to you about it before we move forward.
Okay, thank you all, and I will look forward to doing that with each of you. And I appreciate you and Ashley, because I know y'all have taken it about as far as you can.
yeah. We got two more items for public hearing tonight. So, Mr. Jones is petitioning to rezone 1.5 acres at 3507 McGee Road from BN to ML, and this is Council District 6. So here's the location of that property, off McGee Road, so it's kind of hard to tell, but that green patch right there is the UA Arboretum, for reference. Underneath Lynn Haven, just south of University Boulevard East. So you can see it's currently zoned BN. This is the business that he currently operates is Electric Motor and Supply. You can see that's the business and that's what exists out there today. And he's wanting to rezone to ML in order to accommodate these activities more clearly, as well as he's proposing to build a warehouse as well as some office space to expand his use, and ML better accommodates what he wants to do. Framework this does conform to framework. This is Flex Employment Center, and PZC unanimously recommended approval. Any questions about that one?
Question, is that?
And one more for you. So this is a rezone from RM3 to RMF1, 9.41 acres. The location is, so the edge is just on the left of this property here. So just on the west side, and then Rosedale Courts is just on the other side of 10th there. For reference, the Downs is just north. So So
That's
this,
where the apartments, there used to be.
yes, sir.
apartments.
So this used to be an apartment complex,
Fountain blue.
and then,
There you go.
Glad
Got
there
it.
weren't cameras out there.
Yeah.
When they start changing names.
Another.
so that was destroyed in 2011, never built back. They want to rezone to RMF1 for an apartment development.
Okay.
It does not technically conform to framework, so framework identifies this as flex employment center, which is similar to what, the Edge is. Because it was a vacant piece of property, even though it's zoned RM3 today, so apartments are, it is a residential property zoned today. The ability to do flex employment there is, because it was a vacant piece of property, is why we identified that as flex employment.
Nobody's shown any interest.
Is there
No one has
prospect
shown
of
any
flex
interest, no
employment?
one's come out actually at the planning commission for, against this as well for apartments, so.
What is flex employment?
Yeah, so that's like assembly, processing, warehousing, but it's more so geared towards like new technologies and research, not necessarily like machinery and things like that. Almost like office space, similar to the Edge. Incubator space, office space.
So this is in my district, and so like Mr. Pons was saying, there's no resentment to it. They had one resident, the neighborhood president, come out, Mr. Land, I think he's the neighborhood president, either way. So they had no resentment. Their main concern was just making sure that the drainage issues that currently exist do not get worse than what they are. So I'm fine with this development also.
Where is that, the Downs?
Uh-huh.
Well, it was apartments there probably when the Downs was built.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. It was apartments before, yeah. And it was managed well. They didn't have any problems with it, so.
All right, that's all I've got.
Hey, thank you, Zach. Mr. Mills, you're up, sir.
All right, good afternoon, Council and Mayor. We have 4 applicants today, 2 for public hearings and 2 for special retail events less than 7 days. The first public hearing is for Veracruz Mexican Grill, number 2 LLC at 1301 McFarland Boulevard, Northeast, applying for a restaurant retail liquor license. They're going in the old La Bamba restaurant. Yes, sir. All right, the second applicant I have is for Druid City Brewing Company LLC, applying for a manufacturer's license at 714th Street. It's a change of location. All right. My third application is for the 26th Annual Barbecue and Blue Jeans at 4922 McWright's Ferry Road. And again, this is for special events, retail less than 7 days. And the last applicant I have is for Druid City Arts Festival 2023, 2106 6th Street. That's it. Any questions?
When is decaf?
April 1st.
April 1st? And it's just a license to sell
This is a
alcohol,
private event. This is for a private location during decaf. Private
like a
party.
VIP tent or something?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tony.
That's good.
Appreciate it. Mayor Maddox?
That's anything today.
What? Okay. All right, Portia, you are up. Young lady.
I only need like 20 seconds. I just wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow 311 goes live with our new software and our new app. We're very, very excited. I sent you all an email for you to share it if you desire. So we just ask for your patience and support. You know, it's new, it's gonna be a learning curve, but we are in this together and we are very excited. If anybody has any issues in any departments, please let me know and we will get it handled.
Sounds great.
City
Thank
done a
you.
post, or the city portion doing a post on Facebook. You know
Yes.
that, like, is that today too?
Yes, I think they're
So we need to
putting,
share that.
yes, I sent you an email too that you can copy and paste and share.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll do
I've
it.
already done I'll leave that
Thank
Takes a while for you to travel across the river.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we don't have internet over there.
No,
Ceasefire's coming.
They've torn up most of it.
I saw you post, that was good. Okay, Brandy.
All right, so I am back with some more excitement. So the ALM is having their convention in May, and as you guys see, it's May 10th through 13th. And just like we talked about last week, they're having their annual business meeting, and we need to have a voting delegate for that business meeting. The business meeting will be the 12th of May at 3 p.m.
Brandy has muzzled me this week, so anybody else wants to speak? We need a delegate
A
and an
delegate
alternate?
and 2 alternates.
Two
yes.
alternates. Does anybody wish to be a delegate or either of the alternates?
Just to spice it up for you guys, I did print you guys all a copy of the actual schedule of events for ALM, yes.
Wow.
Yes, and, so you don't have to go to all of the events if you don't want to. We do just need someone there to represent the city during the business meeting.
Where's the liquor?
There's a couple of receptions there for you, Mr. Tyner.
Thank you.
Yes,
The voting delegate needs to be there what day? I mean,
on Friday, the business meeting is that third to last item on Friday.
I did it last.
Does anybody want to be? Nobody wants to? Nobody wants to?
That's fine. I'll send them an email for you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, I'll be there. I am planning to go.
I'm going.
Norman, you're not going, are you? So, I mean,
I can't go.
I think you should be the delegate.
You'd be a great delegate.
What time is
I
it
think I was the
when
year
they need to be
before.
there for the delegate vote?
So the meeting will start at 3:30-ish is when they're hoping to actually start the items that will need some type of vote
On Wednesday?
on Friday, the 12th.
Oh, on Friday.
okay, so I can be the
I think
delegate.
that,
Remember,
I
you gotta-
nominate Ray.
You gotta sit through the president's speech, the director's speech,
Don't
and a
remind me,
board
I'm so
report.
excited. Thanks for the
And
agenda,
I'll be the
Randy.
alternate.
And then we need one more alternate, just in case.
Grandma might get sick.
I'll be an alternate.
I can't have it.
I'll be the second alternate.
There you go. Easy peasy. We'll put an ordinance on the agenda next
So
week
you
for
can fill
this.
out your form.
Yes, thank you.
The items that will be voted on is the convention locations in the future, and Tuscaloosa should be on that, so we definitely wanna have
I'll
your
make
vote.
I'll make that motion, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a difference,
That does.
but I'm still not going.
Oh, was it good last year?
And Walt knows, I go to every one
You
that's
came
here.
last year,
And the, and
spoke
the,
at the dinner.
and the time, yep,
I
thanks to
remember.
you. And then the last time I was here, I've been to
Shame
two.
I had to get PD to pick you up and make you come. But once they got you in there, you were good.
I had a good time.
You had a good
I
time.
had a real good time.
Send me, I'll get them to keep the students from voting.
Yeah. I did call the Greene County and Sumter County delegations. They remembered me as their weatherman. So I had a good time.
Back in the day.
We've had it twice here since.
Yes, sir. Sure have.
All right. So we've got our delegates and so push Tuscaloosa, since you guys appreciate you volunteering to go. It's on a Friday, so you don't have to wear a city shirt day.
Oh, Randy, can we get city shirts? We'll talk about that later. Or Vicky. Yeah. Yeah. I'll pick out something cute for the guys.
One of our former councilmen wanted to have a wardrobe of stuff that said councilman on like.
I remember.
I said, you go right ahead.
I might relive that moment.
But I don't want to be a part of it.
I'll get you one that says ESD, police, fire, I promise you.
Oh, mercy. Okay.
I got an old police uniform, could I just wear it around?
As long as they don't break any laws doing so, it's fine with us.
I still have a police jacket. Nice one. they gave it to me during the tornado because the chief, I mean, every time I get stopped, they'd, call to see if I was okay to go somewhere, to my, either house, and so finally, I forget who gave me, one of the, gave me, it said, just wear this, and so they won't say anything to you again,
I got extra.
I got free groceries from a lady in Bruno, so she said, thank you for your service, and she bought my groceries.
I wouldn't have told that one.
Good afternoon, council. You ready for it yet, Mr. Tyner?
And here comes the city.
But I was doing my role as a police officer, not as a councilman. But I did get free
You go
groceries.
to jail.
Statute of limitations.
You ready for me, Mr. Tyner? I guess so.
I'm sorry, Randy.
Oh, Summer, you done something about that heat in here yet? All right, good. The first item you have, we'll go back to the first page at the bottom there under public hearings. We have a hearing to revoke the business license of Bama Ride LLC. OCA, Revenue, and TPD met with representatives from that business the end of last week. We have an agreement. We are going to ask council to table that for 6 months. We believe we have made our point on proper operation. We're going to use those 6 months as sort of a probationary period, and if they do operate as we think they should over the next 6 months, we'll come back and ask for this to be removed.
Is that Bama Ride?
Yes, sir. Is anybody having issue with that? If y'all are generally okay with that, we'll go ahead and make sure the witnesses aren't here today. We won't have our officers up here. Thank you. I will skip down now over about midway down to page 2 of your agenda, where on page 25 you'll be approving the job class specifications for Director of Construction Management. That came from admin on last week. On page 26, you'll be authorizing an amendment to the city's agreement and authorizing the mayor to execute the amended agreement with Salvation Army under the city's 2021 Emergency Solution Grants Program. That came from CD Committee last week. On page 27, you'll be authorizing the Office of Community and Neighborhood Services to make budget program changes to the 2019 through 2023 lead hazard abatement program. That was on CD Committee. On page 28, you'll be authorizing an amendment to the city's agreement and authorizing the mayor to execute the amended agreement with SAN Inc. DBA Turning Point under the city's 2021 Emergency Solutions Grants Program. That again came from CD Committee. On pages 29 through 30, you'll be authorizing the city of Tuscaloosa to join the state of Alabama and other local governments as participants in certain opioid settlements. That comes from my office. On page 31, you'll be authorizing a professional services contract with TTL for the North Ridge Road Slope Repair Project. That is a total not to exceed $85,218. It was on projects last week. On page 32, you'll be authorizing the mayor to execute amendment number 3 to TOD number 2 with Volker. This is for professional engineering and related services for Lift Station 21 Equalization Tank and Pump Station Improvements Project. That is a total increase amount of $100,000 and was discussed in projects on last week. On page 33, you'll be authorizing the mayor to execute task order directive number 2 with Thompson Engineering Incorporated for McWright's Ferry Road on North River and Rice Mine Road Improvements Project. That's a total not to exceed $2,908,185 and came from projects last week. And Mr. Crow, you'll be happy to know they're very busy out there at about 7:15 this morning on McWright's Ferry Road. On page 34, you'll be authorizing a MOU with the University of Alabama Department of Telecommunications and Film. This is for filming at amphitheater shows. That was discussed in projects last week. On page 35, you'll be authorizing the CFO to draw drafts for the Juanito Drive Phase 2 Improvements Project. That is for property acquisitions, total of $13,900. On page 36, you'll be authorizing a contract with Axon Enterprises LLC and declaring a bid law exemption pursuant to Alabama Code 41-1651A-15. That is a total of $194,518.80. On page 37, you'll be awarding competitive bids for the purchase of mulch and pine straw. On page 38 and 39, you'll be authorizing amendment number 1 to the resolution to establish the budget for the 2022 B warrant series. That came from Finance Committee last week. On page 40, you will be authorizing amendment number 5 to FY '23 General Fund Reserve for Future Improvements Fund budget, and that came from Finance Committee last week. On page 41, you will be introducing zoning amendment number 1508, rezoning approximately 1.15 acres located at 1717 18th Place and 1805 Queen City Avenue. On page 42 and 43, you'll be introducing zoning amendment number 1509, rezoning approximately 15.4 acres located at and around 3101 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard from MG and R3 to industrial. And on pages 44 through 45, you'll be amending section 3-31 of the Code of Tuscaloosa. That came from admin last week.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
what is that amendment again?
3-31 is our code? No.
Which
Sorry.
one is that?
That is the expansion of on premises, where if you expand your premises, you have to come back for your alcohol license with us. You can't have a small bar and then build a giant bar onto the next.
Is my memory that there were 3 businesses that were affected by that?
There shouldn't be any, but I mean, that's only future
No, that's the
looking.
gastropub.
Which one is that we were?
This is the one that says if you currently have let's say you have a bar that can hold 50 people. You have additional room on your lot, or you buy the building next door and expand your bar into that, and now you can hold 300 people. You have to come back for your alcohol license.
Which is the one that we talked about affecting existing businesses? There were 3 of them.
That would be tying your occupancy to what you presented to the ABC board for your alcohol license.
Where is that?
That you asked for it to go, I believe we skipped a week, so I think it's next
That's
week.
right. So, will we know, we talked to the businesses that are affected by this?
We have not spoken with them. We presented it at a public safety summit with the chamber. We have not heard from anybody.
I have the mayor's business advisory council tomorrow morning, so we plan on discussing it.
Okay, good, thank you.
And, I'm sorry, where was I? On page 46, you'll be amending section 7-33A4 of the code pertaining to revocation of a license or privilege to obtain a license. That came from admin committee. On page 47, you'll be amending exhibits A and B of section 19-42 and 19-60A of Tuscaloosa regarding water and sewer and construction facilities and grounds jobs classification. That came from admin committee last week. On page 48, you'll be establishing a hiring and retention bonus and referral bonus for Tuscaloosa police officers. That came from admin last week. On page 49, you'll be reappointing Judge Ricky McKinney as presiding municipal court judge. That comes from the Judicial Appointment Committee that met the end of last week.
How long is that for, I forget?
It's a 4-year term.
Okay.
It was a quick discussion, and Judge McKinney was unanimously recommended for reappointment. On page, I believe we've covered we'll be setting public hearings for the 2 zoning amendments that you're introducing. Yes, sir.
Scott? Sorry, I haven't had enough coffee today.
All right.
The only amendment that we are looking at passing that affects, it's not prospectively, most of these are from this point going forward. The only one that we're talking about that would affect any business today is the one that's coming next week.
Yes, sir.
It changes the rules now, right?
It-
Going forward.
It solidifies,
with them.
it solidifies what we believe the rules have always been.
Okay. I just wanted to get that straight in my head, thank you.
Yes, sir. We do have a couple items for executive session today.
I agree with your last statement.
Yeah.
Any,
We're codifying what we believe to be true.
yes.
That's a
There-
good way of saying it.
Any questions for me?
Any questions for Mr. Holmes?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have projects, finance, public safety, then council at 6. Framework meeting tomorrow, Thursday, the career fair, by the way. Multi-department career fair at the River Market from 10 to when? Starts at 10, runs 10 to 2. And again, the home allocation plan, there's a public hearing, and will that be in the council chambers?
Yes, sir, there's two public hearings, one at 10 and one at 5.
10-5, okay? I wish more people would attend. I went to one, and I was the only person there.
Did you get a job?
No. I was trying to figure out if it was a home allocation plan, how it worked, and I got my answers. Okay, all right, we have, we need to go into executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Scott,
Yes, sir. As your city attorney and an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Alabama, I can certify that this executive session is discussed with their attorneys the legal ramifications of and the legal options for pending litigation, controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated, or imminently likely to be litigated if the governmental body pursues a proposed course of action.
okay, we have a motion second to go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?